Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the campaign show. On this day in American history, America is in unprecedented crisis. Inflation has wiped out so much of the savings of Americans who have worked hard over the years. The government is persecuting its own people. People are fighting at Walmart and various other retail stores. The cities are burning to the ground in some cases in recent memory. And people are really, really angry with one another. And increasingly, people are angry at the politicians who rule over them. However, due to media manipulation and media propaganda, a lot of people don't even really know exactly who rules over them. So we might explain it. We're going to talk a little bit about this other country today. This other country, it's a small country overseas. You would think the politicians, Congress and whatnot, and the White House would be trying to get to the heart of America's problems, solve problems for America. But for some reason, a whole lot of politicians today are talking about this other country called Israel. Israel is what it's called. Have you heard of this country, Israel? So it's a foreign country, and a lot of the donors who donate to American politics really like Israel. They're all about it, like Israel, yeah, all kinds of, and on both sides, by the way. And if you go over to Israel, you can, hang out on Rothschild Boulevard in Tel Aviv. The Rothschilds basically created the nation-state of Israel through the Balfour Declaration. You can look it up. So you can go to Rothschild Boulevard in Tel Aviv. Shows you who's in charge. Here in America, we have a lot of Martin Luther King Jr. boulevards that people avoid, And for all of Dr. King's work, letters from a Birmingham jail and the marches and whatnot, part of his legacy is that a lot of people see Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard on a sign and go, make a U-turn. Because in a lot of these cities and across America, we see a ton of crime, we see a ton of violence, we see a ton of danger, and that is only going to increase so long as the globalist project occupies America. And make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to vaccine tyranny, when it comes to military warmongering, when it comes to influencing the horrible policies of the Beltway elite, the puppets in Washington, D.C., make no mistake, Israel is at ground zero of the globalist project. And it's unclear, as with ground zero, if Larry Silverstein had an insurance policy on it. The Israeli president, which is different than the prime minister, but the Israeli president, Isaac Herzog, has spoken to Congress today. And this is a guy who, by the way, said that when he visited America, he saw Jewish people marrying non-Jewish people, and he called that a plague. A plague. And you would think, that's a pretty bold comment. You would think somebody might have some criticisms for that comment or whatnot. But it seems like, to the contrary, the politicians are really, really shilling very hard for Israel today. You got Matt Rosendale, Byron Donalds, Mike Pence, Joni Ernst, Tom Ebers, groveling for Israel in their public statements today. And Isaac Herzog, here's part of his speech to Congress. Is anybody going to hold him accountable?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not oblivious to criticism among friends, including some expressed by respected members of this House. I respect criticism, especially from friends, although one does not always have to accept it.
Here we go.
But criticism of Israel must not cross the line into negation of the state of Israel's right to exist.
Standing for their shekels. Get the shekels, Congressman. Get the shekels. Get your shekels. Stand for your shekels. Be a good little congressman. Yeah, we know who's in charge. We know who's in control of this. Look at these puppets. Look at McCarthy. Look at them. These folks moan and moan about the patriots who wanted election integrity.
Self-determination is not
and then they grovel to Israel.
Diplomacy, it is anti-Semitism.
Ooh. Look at this. Is it every single one, or is maybe Ilhan sitting down?
Vilifying and attacking Jews, whether in Israel, in the United States, or anywhere else in the world, is anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is a disgrace in every form, and I commend President Joe Biden for laying out the United States' first ever national strategy to combat anti-Semitism.
Ah, here we go. We're all going to stand for that one. Look at these puppets. There we go. Yep. Now, of course, well, first of all, not everybody was really happy to see this Israeli President Isaac Herzog outside the White House. And lest anyone accuse this show of being anti-Semitic, let's show, very respectfully, this clip of some Jewish people who are expressing their view about what Zionism really is.
In the name of holiness, they claim the right to occupy, kill, and steal. And here traipses this Mr. Herzog and gives himself a fancy name. He's a president. What he is a leader of a gang of thieves.
Whoa!
A gang of gangsters that has been existing for 75 years. But in this 75 years of its existence, every year has been a year of bloodshed, of suffering, of spitting at the laws of God. Recognize you are supporting a crime. Stop the state of Israel. Stop its existence.
Wow. Well, that is certainly how they feel about the Zionist regime. A very different opinion than the politicians. A very different opinion than the politicians on both sides. Oh my goodness, the grand old party has just been shilling up a storm for Israel today. Now keep in mind, we reported on this show yesterday on a statement, an exclusive statement that I got from an army whistleblower who revealed that the Mossad set up a fake laptop kiosk stand at the Sierra Vista Mall next to Fort Huachuca specifically to spy on American service members in the military. They were fake laptop kiosk salesmen. I mean, that's like an Abbott and Costello bit. Did they wear like phony mustaches? Did they wear Groucho Marx mustaches? We're selling laptops to the American soldiers, right? And they were spying on it. Oh, guess what? The military knew about it. The military knew about it, but it took me to break the story, didn't it? The military didn't come out and say, we have a big crisis with Israel spying on our military. Pretty big deal. No, it took me to report on it, and I'm sure there's going to be people who will, criticize me for that, call me all sorts of names. But lest you think that the Republicans are somehow looking out for you. Oh, by the way, let's keep in mind that Jeffrey Epstein, according to Ari Ben-Menash, was working on behalf of the nation state of Israel, doing a little spy blackmail routine with his buddy Ghislaine Maxwell, the daughter of Israeli spy Robert Maxwell. Let's not forget that. Very important to remember, in fact, as we talk about Israel. Well, the Republicans are basically just the Israel Party. That's what they are at this point. And the NRCC, the National Republican Congressional Committee, I guess, they're shilling for McCarthy and the Republican congressmen. They know what the real problems are. The real problems, it's not that, the water's poisoned in Flint, Michigan, or inflation's wiping out people's savings, people can't afford a house, people can't afford a car, the borders are open, and savage killers are coming in here to massacre Americans, and anti-white propaganda, and all kinds of woke propaganda is ruining the lives of young people. No, they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the economy. They don't want to talk about how they're leading us into World War III in Ukraine. The National Republican Congressional Committee wants to call out the Jihad Squad for not supporting Israel. Sheldon Adelson, the late Sheldon Adelson, would be proud, and so would Paul Singer and all the folks who have, controlled the Republican Party in recent years. Let's look at this very cringe ad from the NRCC.
There's a strong anti-Israel, anti-Semitic wing in the Democratic Party.
We have been fighting to make it clear that Israel is a racist state.
You cannot claim to hold progressive values yet back Israel's apartheid government.
Palestinian people who have
Based.
now experienced occupation and displacement for 75 years.
Israel
So
is a
based,
racist
so red
state.
pill.
We're here again, reaffirming Congress' support for apartheid. Israel is an apartheid state.
They think that's going to mobilize people to the polls. And the sad thing is that, there are a lot of normie Republicans out there who probably will get really angry by that. They don't support Israel. I'm seeing a ton of that today, by the way, all over social media from the conservatives. I didn't even know that it was that overwhelming. I mean, obviously, I know politics is totally conquered and taken over by Israel, but among the actual people who vote Republican, I mean, there's a lot of just frothing anger because it all comes from Fox News and conservative media and their influencers and pro-Israel Charlie Kirk and, the rest of them. And Dan Bongino totally smacks down Geraldo on Israel. You need to stand with Israel, Geraldo. And then, obviously, all of that stuff gets pushed out through conservative media, which is extremely controlled, which blacklists anyone who says the wrong thing about Israel. Israel, Israel, Israel. They had a CPAC recently in Israel. I think the whole Republican Party might as well just move over to Israel at this point since they love it so much. Ron DeSantis went over to Israel and wore a hat and signed a bill affecting people here in Florida, thus proving that we are colonized. But it's not just the Republicans, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what Nancy Pelosi had to say about Israel.
I have said to people when they ask me if this Capitol crumbled to the ground, the one thing that would remain is our commitment to our aid. And I don't even call it aid, our cooperation with Israel.
Really? That would be the last thing?
To who we
The last thing. So America's falling, people are just running around crazy in the streets, buildings are burning, and everything's anarchy and chaos. But the last thing, the last function of the U.S. government would be to give more money to Israel. Nancy Pelosi just recently actually had some comments about Joe Biden's age. Let's take a look.
I couldn't be prouder of him. And again, we're very fortunate that he is in that position. But again, age is relative. I was in L.A. For some Democratic stuff recently, and I met with Norman Lear, who's 100, going on 101. He was telling me some new shows he was involved in. I was meeting with Frank Gehry, a 90-something architect, showing me new buildings he's building throughout the world. And they were like, 80, he's a kid. But again, it's relative. He's younger than I am, so he's a kid to me as well, the president is.
He's a kid to Nancy Pelosi. That young buck, Joe Biden, age 80. Well, so we've heard from Isaac Herzog that Biden is going to do some kind of, anti-Semitism strategy. I think we'll be seeing the effects of that very intensely over the next few years. But the White House lady, are they going to do anything for the American people? All right, we've heard about Israel all day. Israel, 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 and they're all Israel, our strongest ally, and Israel, and Jeffrey Epstein, and, Harvey Weinstein, and he was linked up with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and Kevin Spacey, Bill Clinton, that whole little alleged Israeli intelligence unit that's been controlling so much of our politics and our pop culture in our lifetimes as America becomes a strip mall labor colony. You know what? Don't you think the American people just deserve $1 billion back? For all we've been through with this creepy Joe guy, don't you think they should just give us $1 billion? Actually, the White House is going to, as of today, they say they're going to send $1.3 billion in new spending to Ukraine. Here's the White House. Oh, Ukraine's a different country, by the way, besides America. Here's the White House lady.
Now turning to Ukraine, some news there. The Department of Defense announced a new security assistance package to support the people of Ukraine as they bravely defend their country. This package includes more critical air defense capabilities, such as National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile Systems and additional systems to help Ukraine shoot down Russian and Ukrainian drones.
Why do I care about this?
The package also includes additional artillery rounds and mine-clearing equipment, as well as unmanned aerial
are starving in the
systems
streets of
and
America.
equipment that will help Ukraine better protect its ports. These latter capabilities will become increasingly important,
Not important to me.
especially now that Russia has pulled out of the grain deal. And has renewed
The grain
attacks on
deal.
port
Oh, no.
cities, as we have seen
Now they've
over
really
past
crossed the
2
line.
days. The weapons and equipment we are announcing today are being procured by the Defense Department for Ukraine through the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative as part of our
They've done it
commitment
this time,
to
pulling out of the
strengthen
Green
Ukraine's
Deal.
military over the near and also long term. As President Biden made clear in Vilnius last week, the United States is committed to supporting Ukraine alongside our allies and partners now and for the long future as we head into the future, clearly.
Well, there's where your money's going. Is it money well spent? Do you think it's money well spent? Do you think it's money well spent? Because Kevin McCarthy's House GOP, by the way, oh, they love it too. They love it. More for Ukraine. And of course, Zelensky believes that Ukraine is going to be the greater Israel. It's a greater Israel. It's like a new Israel over there in Ukraine, led by Zelensky. And you know what? You know what I'm going to do right now? We have so much more news. But first, if you want to buy a gun holster, I want you to buy a Vanish gun holster, and I'm going to tell you why. Christian gun owners should be aware of an unfortunate trend that is putting people in danger. Millions of concealed carrying gun owners have made a huge mistake with their holster because their holster is so uncomfortable, they've stopped using it. So their quest to defend themselves or others fails at the start. That's why Vanish holsters are quickly becoming one of the most popular holsters in America. Thousands of customers say it's the most comfortable holster ever, and when you get one, you will never stop carrying. This holster also saves you money. That's because it fits 99% of all semi-auto handguns, it works without a tactical belt, and it lets you carry in multiple positions, and it lets you carry 2 fully loaded magazines. And best of all, because you watch the campaign show, because you love the campaign show, I'm going to give it to you for $50 off. So usually $130, I'm going to sell it to you for $80 if you go to vnsh.com/Patrick. vnsh.com/Patrick to claim the $50 discount that I am offering you for your gun holster. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to the good people at Vanish Gun Holsters who are helping the campaign show stay alive in these difficult times in which all of the American money is going over to Ukraine. A whole lot of it, at least. Seems like all of it. Certainly seems like it. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot left here in America. Seems like the money tree's been shaken and, you know, Zelensky was under it with a little bucket catching the dollars, and now the dollars are gone. So since America continues, since the politicians continue to blunder us into World War III over there in Ukraine, we have to look at our military and ask, you know, are our military commanders capable of, you know, fighting a big World War III against Russia, maybe against China? I mean, what's going to happen? There's going to be all kinds of war. Are there any like General Pattons or General Douglas MacArthur's for the United States who are going to have some kind of brilliant military strategy and inspire the men and inspire the country in this war? Let's take a look at actually a Navy Admiral. This is Navy Admiral Rachel Levine.
What would you say to folks who think that they're being reasonable by saying, why can't children just wait till they're 18?
Adolescence is hard and puberty is hard. What if you're going through the wrong puberty? What if you inside feel that you are female, but now you're going through a male puberty?
Oh, Putin's shaking. Putin's shaking at the Kremlin over that one. That's Admiral Rachel Levine. Admiral Rachel is going to rally up the boys to go fight Putin. The boys and the girls and the they-thems. The whole spectrum, the whole non-binary spectrum is going to come together as a coalition of pronoun people and fight a World War III. And for some reason, since we live in this country, and since this country has been colonized and turned into absolute dirt by the people who run it, who hate us, we're on the same side, I guess, as Admiral Rachel Levine. I'm not. I don't care about this war. I don't want to go to war against Russia. I don't want to go to war against Russia. I'm not on the same side as Admiral Rachel Levine. And yet these people sort of control the government. And one of the reasons why they control the government is this. We mentioned the Rothschilds, right? We mentioned Rothschild Boulevard over there in Tel Aviv. Well, the Rothschilds are extremely, extremely powerful banking family, as you know. We have a whole lot more content coming about them on this show. But America in recent decades has been under the spell of something called fiat currency and something called fractional reserve banking. So basically what happens is our money, our dollars, and I know that many of the people watching the show, including myself, we don't have a whole lot of those. Very, very few. Very difficult to get our hands on those dollars there. And the dollars actually aren't even worth anything. Basically, it's monopoly money. It's not backed up by gold. Since the Federal Reserve came into existence in 1913, the Federal Reserve has controlled the printing of the dollars. They control the money. And we finally totally went off the gold standard in the 1970s, right around the time they were forcing Nixon out over Watergate. And Henry Kissinger, maybe rubbing his hands together in the background there with Deep Throat, possibly. So America went off the gold standard. The money is worthless. It's worthless. And, Larry Fink controls trillions of dollars in assets at BlackRock. And, Fox News conservatism wants to be like, yeah, Larry Fink earned that $6 trillion. Maybe if you just cut back on your Starbucks and your avocado toast, then you could afford to have trillions of dollars in assets too, like Larry Fink. Stop being so lazy, right? This is what we hear over and over and over and over again from the Republican media machine. But I think something else is going on. I think it's kind of weird that Larry Fink controls trillions of dollars in assets and a lot of good people in this country are starving to death on the street. I think that's a big fucking problem. Excuse me. So let's see what the Republicans are doing for us. Let's see what the Republicans are doing for us. Let's see what this James Comer guy, he's the bulldog, right? We're going to get Hunter. We're going to get Hunter. It goes on and on and on. They keep leading us into war. The guy hasn't done anything. We've been reporting on Hunter for years at National File. The New York Post, by the way, had all these massive stories about Hunter back in the election, but both Republicans and Democrats worked to cover it up. Oh, but James Comer, this is such Republican pundit thinking, believes that Trump potentially getting indicted again, that would just be a ploy to distract the headlines from his pointless committee hearing.
I don't think people are even paying attention to the Trump indictments. I mean, it's almost like the Biden re-election campaign continues to cry wolf here. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't indict Donald Trump right before I hit the gavel for this committee hearing today. Every time we break big news with respect to the Biden criminal investigation, here comes somebody to indict Donald Trump to try to steal the headlines.
So that's what he truly actually believes. That, the Democrats are going to indict a former president of the United States, causing worldwide instability and anger and crisis in order to distract, Newsmax from reporting on James Comer being like, can you imagine if this was Don Jr.? Could you imagine if this was Don Jr.? Could you imagine if Don Jr. did this? I'm going to write a letter. Me and Lindsey Graham are going to get together and write a letter. And we're going to write a letter about Hunter. And we're going to write a letter about hypocrisy. That's right, hypocrisy, folks. And then, Cat Turd and all these things will be like, can you imagine if it was on the other side? Can you imagine if it was Don Jr.? Just have a whole can you imagine if it was the other side committee. That's all the Republicans do. They don't do jack squat for us. The Democrats indicting a president, the Republicans think that's to distract the narrative. What narrative? What news are you breaking, James Comer, that hasn't already? We already know. We already know Biden's crooked. We know all about this. Go look at the Hunter Biden laptop. We know about this. We've known about this for years. You're not breaking news, James Comer. Okay? Nobody cares about your hits on, various TV networks. All right? Are you going to do something or not? Probably not. Even President Donald Trump in his interview with Hannity weighed in on the fact that the House GOP is doing absolutely nothing. And here is President Donald J. Trump, baby.
Now, that's only the stuff they found. There's a lot of other things, and there'll be some things that you never find, but there's a lot of other things. So he's getting millions of dollars illegally from China, and then you say, hey, they impeached me over a phone call that was perfect. Why aren't they impeaching Biden for receiving tens of millions of dollars? Why isn't he under impeachment?
Yeah, what if it was the other side? That's right. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if it was the other side? Well, you know what? President Donald Trump, with all due respect, you supported Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the House of Representatives. And I made it very clear at the time that I didn't want Kevin McCarthy to be the Speaker of the House of Representatives because Kevin McCarthy is a globalist stooge who's not going to do anything. And James Comer was one of the stooges for Kevin McCarthy and, nothing's happening against Joe Biden. So President Donald Trump, when you endorsed Kevin McCarthy for Speaker, when Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert were admirably trying to stop Kevin McCarthy from being the Speaker, then you contributed to the House GOP doing nothing. And these are the kinds of things that you have to realize if you're going to get back in there this time. Mr. President, with all due respect, the Republican Party, does the Republican Party have a deep bench, though? I don't know. You've got somebody named Kevin Stockton, and he's a Republican, and he's running for Congress in California, and here's what he had to say on the issues.
Yeah, let's talk about this bipartisanship. On the federal level, the GOP-controlled House recently passed a defense bill with amendments that would restrict abortion for military members, ending diversity and inclusion programs, voted along party lines for that one. Would you have voted lockstep with your party on that?
Well, listen. I haven't seen that just yet, but the fact of the matter is that we're going to make sure, that.
Wow. No, that's okay. Yeah. Do you?
Wow, I didn't even think about it that way. What an interesting point. The hilarious thing is he did all of the verbiage of political rhetoric and jargon. He was like, well, we have to assure that ensuring, making sure that foundationally and institutionally we are going to, embolden our communities and next. Just ramble on and don't answer the question. That's what politicians have basically come to now. It's just like, whatever they say is just going to be like some pablum written by some evil strategist, just meaningless nonsense words that disgrace the English language for their complete lack of substance. So it's just like, what's the point? That politician, he kind of just sort of acknowledged it. He was just like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And who cares? Like, does anyone expect him to say anything real? That's what it's come to. But, all the Republicans and a whole lot of the Democrats shilling for Israel. And, man, I think Fox News' heads are just going to turn, like, really, really red with anger if, the so-called Jihad Squad says anything more about occupied Palestine, as they call it. See, this is the thing. The only congressmen who are speaking out about Israeli power are coming to it through the perspective of they're occupying the Palestinians. Now, that's a very popular message that a lot of people share all over the world, but it doesn't get to the heart of what's happening here in America, the forgotten colony of America. We are suffering. We are in economic crisis. If you're a young white person in this country, just forget about it. I mean, you're not going to make it. You're not. I mean, all of the institutions, all of the most powerful people hate you. Now, when I say make it, I mean make it in their system, to be clear. You will make it if you watch the campaign show and we organize and we do the things that we need to do to elevate ourselves in the conversation, to elevate ourselves in politics. And you know what? President Donald Trump is massively leading the Republican primary. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is surging in the polls over there on the Democrat side. And there's a lot to be hopeful about as truthful, red-pilled people organize and get together and realize what's really going on. But ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake, when you see these talking points about how the young white millennials, the no-good millennials, don't want to work and they deserve nothing, you should sell your house to BlackRock, just like Ben Shapiro said, because the young whites deserve nothing. They deserve nothing. They're lazy. They don't want to work. Everything is bad. We're in World War III because young whites don't want to work. Open up the borders. Let in every Guatemalan mass murderer. Let in all the Somalis because the young whites don't want to work. You'll hear that from the conservative influencers, from Fox News. And you know who that talking point benefits? It doesn't benefit America. I think it benefits Israel. I do. I think it benefits Israel if BlackRock's Larry Fink gets the houses. I do. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a pretty interesting and bold episode of the campaign show, I would say. I think this is one of the rare times when conservative influencers are not going to be stealing my content. I think they're not going to plagiarize this one. I don't think you're going to see some of my comments from this show on your favorite influencers' timeline. But I will leave you with something very happy and something really cool, which is some guerrilla content. Wow. That was some pretty cool guerrilla content. Well, you're going to hear a whole lot about Israel today and probably every day forever. Actually, speaking of conservative influencers, Agent Jack Posobiec, formerly of military intelligence, who tweeted actually from CIA headquarters and then tried to cover it up. He actually went on his honeymoon in Israel. So maybe you can ask Agent Jack about what it was like to go on a little honeymoon in Israel shortly before he got elevated as a bigger conservative influencer. I actually got an email from Nick Adams recently, one of these conservative pundits on the pro-Trump side. Oh, he went to Israel to meet his hero, Benjamin Netanyahu. Wow, I wonder if he's going to get a few more retweets these days. And so, yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works. You hear about the loyalty pledge? You hear about the loyalty pledge to Israel? Israel, Israel, Israel. Well, it's Israel's world. We're just living in it, but it's not Israel's world, really. It's God's world. It's God's world, and God wants the American people and all of humanity to do well and to break this globalist project that is persecuting people all over this once great country, all over this once beautiful land that's been poisoned and paved over. If you would like to follow the campaign show, go to Instagram.com/the.campaign-show. You can follow me on Twitter.com/HowleyReporter or Gab.com/PatrickReports. You can go to my personal website, PatrickReports.com, to send me a message and say hi. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I might be getting some caps lock emails about this episode, hatefully ranting and rambling at me from some of the supporters of Israel, but maybe you learned something new here on this show, and maybe if you went over to Rothschild Boulevard in Tel Aviv, things would maybe make a little bit more sense about how politics works in America. We will see you tomorrow, and we're going to be speaking truth every single day. I'll see you then.